great news for nursing trainees as Vice President Dr. Mamadou Bawumia reveals Controller and Accountant General will on Thursday transfer 177 million cedis to clear backlog of unpaid allowances.
I engaged the Ministry of Finance, and the minister has in fact sent me the evidence that by Thursday, this Thursday, the controller is transferring 177 million Ghana cedis to the Ministry of Health to pay the nursing training allowances.
So that's the good news coming in from the Vice President. But we'll also hear from him who says clearance will also be granted by August for the recruitment of unemployed nurses in the country.
Steps are being taken to clear the backlog of unemployed nurses and midwives within the shortest possible time. By August, the clearance will be granted.
We'll have a conversation on this one shortly. Also, National Council of Parent Teachers Association describes 40% hike in stationery items as unacceptable as they call on government to immediately intervene.
It's unacceptable at the time that we find ourselves in, when parents are spending more, making sure that our children are comfortable at school so that the learning environment will be okay for them. Then now the materials that government has promised us that he is taking care of it, we now have to pay more for it again. It's unacceptable.
As the Electoral Commission continues the registration of new voters, most of whom are youngsters turning 18, we ask if these youth really understand what they are signing up for. You have to stay tuned in for that one. And later, we also seek answers to this question. What is accounting for the cedi's recent free fall against the US dollar? And is dollarization the way to go now? We have answers for you right after this. So stay with us because we've got details of these and more coming up.
Starr News is coming to you live on Ultimate 106.9 FM in Kumasi, Empire 102.7 FM in Takrady, Zeps 95.9 FM in Zebila, Nissim 100.1 FM in Lamshao, My Star Radio in the USA. Also live on Facebook on Starr 103.5 FM and on starfm.com.gh around the world. This is Starr 103.5 FM. Starr News. Informed, in depth, in touch.
Grateful for your company this evening and welcome aboard Ghana's most comprehensive news analysis program. Start today here on Starr 103.5 FM, simply the best. So, as always, we are streaming live on Facebook. So, quickly join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Starr 103.5 FM. Alternatively, you can send your thoughts, your comments, your views, and contributions to the WhatsApp number 0552 880 216 0552 880 216. And let's get interactive because you are a very big part of tonight's show, as always. Well, my name is Joshua Kodjo Mensah. Let's get into the details of our stories this evening. And if you are a trainee nurse battling hardship as a result of unpaid allowances, well, I've got good news for you because the Vice President, who doubles as the NPP's presidential candidate, has revealed that the Controller and Accountant General will on Thursday, the 16th day of May 2024, which is just some 2 days from now, pay 177 million cedis to clear the backlog of unpaid allowances of trainee nurses. Now, it follows petitions by the trainee nurses who have been complaining about how the non-payment of the allowances which has been in arrears in excess of 2 years in some cases, has affected them in diverse ways and made life very unbearable for them. Now, their plight will soon be a thing of the past, and that's according to the Vice President. And he said this at an event to commemorate International Nurses Day, where he said he's been reliably informed payment will be made by Thursday. He also noted that financial clearance will be granted in August for the employment of nurses in the country. So take a listen to the Vice President, Dr. Mamadou Baumia, after which we'll have a conversation with the trainee nurses.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've also embarked on Agenda 111, and as Vice President, I'm dedicated to supporting the work of our nurses and midwives, especially with the coming on stream of the Agenda 111 state-of-the-art facilities. It is essential to invest in their education, training, and professional growth to ensure they have the necessary skills and resources to provide exceptional care, as Professor Ampofo was just talking about. It is recognizing and rewarding their hard work, commitment, and impact on healthcare and society is equally important. Ladies and gentlemen, as the President herself mentioned, and I have confirmed with the Ministry of Finance, steps are being taken to clear the backlog of unemployed nurses and midwives within the shortest possible time. By August, the clearance will be granted, I am told, for the hiring, the recruitment of that. Notwithstanding the backlog, however, let me put on record that our government has provided the highest number of employments to our nurses, unprecedented in our history. So far, we've recruited over 100,000 nurses in this government and still counting. But of course, there's more to be done. With Agenda 111 coming on stream, there will be room to post a lot more nurses around. I wish to assure our nursing trainees also, because whenever I go, they say Alawa has not yet dropped. And so I engaged the Ministry of Finance, and the minister has in fact sent me the evidence that by Thursday, this Thursday, the controller is transferring 177 million Ghana cedis to the Ministry of Health to pay the nursing training allowances. So I have also alerted Dr. Okuboi to be on standby. When the money hits the Ministry of Health account, they should move it quickly to the accounts of the nursing trainees so that they will have their alawa. It will drop by the grace of God. So we are very, very interested as far as welfare is concerned of our nurses. One of the areas I think that Madam President mentioned was the car import duty waivers that nurses and midwives used to enjoy. Unfortunately, as you said, it was abused. That was the reason I understand that it was cancelled. But I believe that we are in a new era. We are in an era of digitalization. We are in an era where we can stop abuse because we can track everybody. We have stopped abuse in controller database. No more ghost workers in Ghana because we are requiring that every worker be identified by the Ghana card and their fingerprints. And since no ghosts don't have fingerprints, they've all run away. So that was a problem that we use digitalization to solve. And we are saving hundreds of millions, over 700 million Ghana cedis as a result of taking away the ghost workers. So if we can do that, we can make sure, and that's why I'm interested in this discussion, we can also make sure that the incentives that we provided nurses and midwives in terms of waivers of import duties, once we engage, we can put in place the systems to make sure they are not abused. And I've already made this, and I'm very happy to do so. Another couple of areas that I think that is worth talking about as far as the future of our country and the future of workers are concerned. Madam President was talking about migration to other countries. You know, when you look at our welfare, the welfare of our workers in Ghana versus the welfare of of workers in the more advanced countries. If they pay you, 1,000 cedis in Ghana, you are stuck with 1,000 cedis. If they pay you $1,000 in Canada, you are able to spend $10,000. So your consumption possibilities increase. But why are they able to spend much more than their income? Because of credit. They have a credit system that works.
So that's the Vice President, Dr. Mamadou Baumia. He's also the presidential candidate for the NPP, speaking at the ceremony to mark International Day of the Nurse. And he has made quite some revealing statements. He talks about the fact that he has seen the evidence from the Finance Ministry pointing to the fact that on Thursday, 2 days from today, the nurses' allowance, trainee allowances that have been in arrears for, in some cases, between 16 and 24 months, he says 177 million cedis has been allocated. He's seen the evidence. The finance minister has shown it to him that this is the case. Payments will be made, and on Thursday, all trainee nurses who are owed allowances by the government will have payments made to their accounts. And that's great news, he's saying right there. He's also talked about the fact that for those who are nurses that have not been employed, and so we see picketing at the health ministry, in some cases at the finance ministry, because they are demanding financial clearance for their postings, those nurses wouldn't have to worry again after August, because in August these clearances will be given. Those are the key things that Dr. Baumia mentioned today, and would have a conversation on this particular one. Let's get on the phone lines now and speak to the National PRO for the Union of Professional Nurses and Midwives Ghana, John Agbenyevu. John, thank you so much for your time this evening. So the Vice President, and I remember having a conversation with you not too long ago about the plight of trainee nurses in the country, for which reason we are seeing most of them, once they get qualified, leave the country. Dr. Baumia says that on Thursday, the allowances in Essex of 177 million cedis will be paid, and the nurses wouldn't have to worry again about the arrears owed them. Exactly what are your thoughts on this?
Thank you very much. Good evening to your listeners, and good evening to nurses and midwives across the country. I think that this is a good news if only it's true. It happens to be true. In fact, we have seen many instances where politicians make some of these statements and it never materialize, and we are not able to hold them accountable. And so for me, looking at the burden that these young ones are going through, and the fact that they are not able to pay their fees in schools and all that, if the training allowances will be paid by Thursday or whatever it is, I think that's a good news, and we wait for it to be done.
So for you are cautiously optimistic about this because of what you've seen happen in the past.
Exactly. I mean, we cannot trust the words of politicians these days. We have been in this country where they make several promises and they are not able to deliver. And I want to believe this is not one of those promises that they make and they never fulfill it. So we'll follow them keenly to ensure that this is done. I mean, this sounds like a very good news to the trainee nurses and those who are seated at home. And so if this is a good news, we will wait for it to be materialized. Otherwise, I think that there's no need talking about it, because it is just going to be one of those things that politicians say and never get them done.
Quite interestingly, the trainee nurses have been raising a lot of flack about this particular situation, the arrears owed them, and how it's been impacting them. So what will the payment of this mean to the trainee nurses from your perspective?
Yes, it's going to solve a lot of problems. In fact, I'm just stepping out of a meeting where we are discussing our end of semester exams. And it means that very soon students will be sent out of the examination hall if they are fees are not paid. And so if this is actually paid on Thursday, it means that most of them will be able to actually pay their fees and sit for the exam. In fact, a number of students are struggling in school. They are not able to, pay their fees, feed, and all that. So I think that this is good news. And the timing is also good for me as a tutor who knows that my students have challenges paying their fees and exam is coming very soon. And so if this happens to come on Thursday, I'll be very happy because I'll see a number of my students writing exams and paying their fees.
But where would your level of confidence now stand on a scale of 1 to 10 in this particular promise or declaration made by the Vice President? Because it says that he has seen the evidence. The Finance Minister has shown it to him that the payment will be made. How confident are you?
The worst thing anybody can do is to be confident in the talks of a politician until it's materialized. I don't have any confidence anyway, but I hope that it happens as he mentioned it.
One of the things he also talked about was the fact that, yes, we've complained, and I know that in our engagements you've talked so passionately about how nurses remain unposted, they are unemployed, the situation that they have to face as a result of this phenomenon. The Vice President says by August, the clearance, financial clearance, will be given. And so all those unemployed nurses would now become employed nurses and midwives in the country. Is that one that you are also still cautiously optimistic about?
Yes, so I don't know what happened all of a sudden and we have gotten clearance for all the nurses from 2020 up to now. If that actually happens, then it means that the politician is actually capable of doing these things all these years and have decided to stay unconcerned. And so we are hoping that this is true and they will come and augment the system and be able to, ensure that the healthcare system is beefed up with nurses and midwives. But then the question I want to ask is that when did all these clearance go through? And why have we waited for so long to get this clearance given to our colleagues? Nonetheless, it's a good news. And so we wait that our colleagues get posted by August this year, if only it is not one of those political cards that is being played.
So I can deduce from what you're saying then, and I'm not sure that I'll be too wrong, that you feel there's a lot of political game also happening with this one because it could have been done earlier if government says it had the funds and all of that. Because over the years, what we've been told is that we do not have the funds to make this happen at this particular point in time.
Exactly. So that's why I'm asking what have changed. And so we would also have to be cautious in believing some of these things so that they don't use us as a political tool to actually do things that they are not supposed to be doing. I mean, this posting thing was something that we've talked about severally. Like I said, 2020 trainees who have completed are still at home. That is 4 years down the line. And so, well, it's a good news. But then the question is why this time? It doesn't really matter. But then let's hope that whatever they promise to do will be done.
Very well. John, thank you so much for speaking with us this evening.
Thank you.
So that's John Agbenyevu. He is the national PRO for the Union of Professional Nurses and Midwives, Ghana, saying, well, they are cautiously optimistic about the declarations that have been made, or the revelations, I should rather put it, by the Vice President. He says that he has seen the evidence from the Finance Minister, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam. He's shown him the evidence that on Thursday, if you're a trainee nurse and you're owed in excess of between 12 to 24 months, the good news is that on Thursday, Dr. Baumia says he's been told and reliably informed, and he's also seen the evidence that your payments will be made. 177 million has actually been allocated for that. Let's get on the phone lines once more and speak to the president of the Ghana Nurses and Midwives Trainees Association, Pascal Adumbila. Pascal, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you so much, sir, for your time.
Great. So, Pascal, I recall you and your members, from last year, you've been so unhappy talking about the fact that the arrears owed you, it's affecting your livelihood and all of that. Today, the Vice President says that your woes will end on Thursday because on Thursday, money will hit your accounts to clear those arrears. How do you respond to this?
Thank you so much for such. It's really true that we have had several engagements and then communication over the late in areas because it's one of the vital things that support us even as we are on campus. With the statement of the Vice President making regarding to our allowances to be paid by next Thursday, I think we've had a lot of engagement at the ministry level since last year from December where there were arrears, clearance that was paid about 162 million Ghana cedis that was paid for 7 months. As we speak now, those clearance that was issued from the Ministry of Finance, only 2 months was issued to the training nurses. And as we speak now, some students are having over 30 months. Like they're in their final year.
There are students that are owed over 30 months in terms of allowances, arrears?
Exactly, because some students have just completed school, others are even in their final year, they've never received the allowances before.
And you say, if I get you quite right, I'm sorry to cut in, but then you were saying what? Some allocations that were made to the finance ministry, you did not get that reflect in terms of clearing your arrears earlier. Is that the case?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying, that we had an earlier engagement with the Ministry of Health, and we were soon documented that the Ministry of Finance has released an amount of 162 million Ghana cedis. And that 162 million Ghana cedis was worth 7 months allowance for the trainers and midwives. And as we speak, the 7 months was due for the trainers and midwives. Only 2 months was disbursed to the trainers and midwives.
And what were you told as to what happened to the rest of that money?
Yes, we were told that the Ministry of Finance is supposed to process it to controller, and controller would release the money. So the amount that was released from controller to them was not up to the 7 months. So it was worth only 2 months, but they are pushing up for controller to make sure that the monies are available for the student nurses and midwives.
And that's what, 152 million?
Exactly.
So now that we are being told that 177 million will clear the arrears, does that look plausible?
As we're speaking now, that's what I'm saying, the money in figures does not only relate in action. So when we are saying 174 million Ghana cedis is due to be paid to the areas that they're owing us, we need to say that because we have had a lot of assurances. I'm not doubting the fact that the Vice President is saying that the allowance will be cleared because these are monies that are being owed. And I think that as government and even the presidential candidates who even in the time of the Exile administration have seen how things were and our promise of restoring it and has restored it, should be able to live up to that to make sure that the trainees and midwives are not only promised but have what is due them.
But what I'm asking, Pascal, is that if you say that 152 million cedis was earlier released, and that was supposed to sort about 7 months, you only received 2 months of that, and now the Vice President is talking about 177. Can that 177 million clear the arrears in total? And that's the question I'm asking.
That's what I'm saying, that relatively wise, if you are going to look at the total number of student nurses and midwives we have in the country and look at the amount that we have, basically per month a student is supposed to take roughly 400 Ghana cedis. And if you are multiplying the 400 Ghana cedis and the number of months that we owed, then absolutely it is going to tell you that if the 162 Ghana cedis proportionally as they stated that was for 7 months, then it means that this would not be able to suffice all the student nurses, their areas.
So how are your colleagues feeling about all of this? I mean, the announcement plus the reality on the grounds.
Actually, it looks in a two-way dimension. Because when you look at it, you look happy and not happy because you've already heard some of these things. Because although it's so unique, because it's one of a kind coming from the Vice President, and I think that for the first time hearing the Vice President speaks about it, that it will come on a. But some of them use it as steppings when they're in school. And our student nurses and midwives, as part of our curriculum, they're supposed to go for intra and extra clinicals. And now, depending on how close or far your where you stay, your facility is, you do have to rent a room or either use transportation. Ask yourself, transporting yourself there. These are people who also run morning shift, afternoon shift, night shift. What do they eat while even at workplace? So when you look at they for 60, like about 60 months, about 20 months, about 10 months, they have never received anything. So when you look at it, and now not only did they not receive anything, but the hiking of the school fees. As we speak now, the training nurse and midwife, they're paying about 5,000 per semester. So if you are complaining the fact that they're not even paying allowances with high fees, how are they able to cope? So life in the nursing and midwifery colleges is not really worth without the allowances. So, but it is something that we have not gotten control over because we have had a lot of engagement, we have communicated, we have had a lot of engagement with stakeholders, but till now they have not been. So I'm hoping that the Vice President is not only saying it to the general public, but he will roll to his word and deliver as he's saying.
And what will the payment of these allowances? How would it change the course of things for you and your colleagues in school?
Pardon me, sir.
So I'm asking, what will the payment of these allowances do for you? How will it help you?
Yeah, thank you. When you look at it, considering how it will help us, somebody who is being owed 30 months, if you look at it relatively 400 Ghana cedis multiplied by 30 months, that's to give you quite an amount that can be able to even pay a semester bill. So when you look at the money now, somebody is also coming. The person is supposed to go for clinical. Now I'm being owed 10 months. 400 cedis times 10 months, that's 4,000 Ghana cedis. I'm able to get a room maybe for a month. I'm doing the clinicals for a month. I'm able to even feed myself or transport myself to the place. So when these monies come, they're going to relieve us of a lot of burden. Psychologically, a lot of people are being sacked from classrooms just because they're not able to pay fees. And once you're not able to clear your bill, you're not given the opportunity to have your end of semester. So when these monies come in time, I'm sure it's going to relieve my members as well as myself from these financial burdens we are carrying.
Quite a troubling situation. I understand you have exams also coming up soon.
Exactly.
And if this does not occur according to what the vice president has told us, it would mean that some of your colleagues will not be able to take their exam. Is that the case?
Exactly. As I'm saying, because the criterion, we're supposed to pay a 60-20-20 bill. So when I say 60-20-20, when school resumes, you're supposed to pay 60% of the bill before you enroll in class. Now, in the middle of the semester, you pay 20%, that is 80, and before examination, you're supposed to clear the other 20%. So now it means that an average student, as I am, if I'm able to pay now, getting to the final exam, I'm expected to clear the other 20% of it. And now, if I'm not able to clear that 20%, it means I'm not able to write the examination. So what the vice president is saying is that now, by Thursday, money will reflect and hit our account. So we are hoping that when those monies hit our accounts, then that 20% that we are expected to pay, we'll be able to clear it and also participate in the examination, which will release the psychological trauma.
When payments is made by the Controller and Accountant General's Department, how long does it take to reflect in your accounts?
When payment is made from the Controller General Accountant Department, it doesn't take so long. When it's made, we go to GIFT, and then within a day, a day, period of 1 day, it reflects in the e-switch.
Oh, okay. Because the Vice President says that he's reliably informed that on Thursday the payment will be made. So hopefully by Friday, if payment is indeed made on Thursday, by Friday it should hit your account, you're telling me.
Exactly.
Very well. Pascal, thank you. Thank you so much for engaging with me this evening. And I'm sure that on Friday we'll come in and also get to understand whether or not this amount would have hit your account. But thank you so much.
I'm grateful for it.
You're welcome, my brother. That's Pascal Adumbela. He's the president for the Ghana Nurses and Midwives Trainees Association. So a lot of you have come on social media, and I see people saying that, the vice president did not necessarily say that the money was going to hit the accounts, but he did mention that the amount to be paid by the controller, and that's why I asked the question. I posed that question to Pascal, that when payment is made by the controller and accountant general, how long does it take to reflect? He says usually within a day. So at least by Friday, if you're a trainee nurse, per what the vice president is telling us, you would have some good news hitting your account, some beautiful amounts hitting your e-switch, according to the vice president, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia. But you know what? Let's take a listen to him again to climax this.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we've also embarked on Agenda 111. And as Vice President, I'm dedicated to supporting the work of our nurses and midwives, especially with the coming on stream of the Agenda 111 state-of-the-art facilities. It is essential to invest in their education, training, and professional growth to ensure they have the necessary skills and resources to provide exceptional care. As Professor Ampofo was just talking about. It is recognizing and rewarding their hard work, commitment, and impact on healthcare and society is equally important. Ladies and gentlemen, as the President herself mentioned, and I have confirmed with the Ministry of Finance, steps are being taken to clear the backlog of unemployed nurses and midwives within the shortest possible time. By August, the clearance will be granted, I am told, for the hiring, the recruitment of that. Notwithstanding the backlog, however, let me put on record that our government has provided the highest number of employments to our nurses, unprecedented in our history. So far, we've recruited over 100,000 nurses in this government and still counting. But of course, there's more to be done. With Agenda 111 coming on stream, there will be room to post a lot more nurses around. I wish to assure our nursing trainees also, because whenever I go, they say Alawa has not yet dropped. And so I engaged the Ministry of Finance, and the minister has in fact sent me the evidence that by Thursday, this Thursday, the controller is transferring 177 million Ghana cedis to the Ministry of Health to pay the nursing training allowances. So I have also alerted Dr. Okuboi to be on standby. When the money hits the Ministry of Health account, they should move it quickly to the accounts of the nursing trainees so that they will have their alawa. It will drop by the grace of God. So we are very, very interested as far as welfare is concerned of our nurses. One of the areas I think that Madam President mentioned was the car import duty waivers that nurses and midwives used to enjoy. Unfortunately, as you said, it was abused. That was the reason I understand that it was cancelled. But I believe that we are in a new era. We are in an era of digitalization. We are in an era where we can stop abuse because we can track everybody. We have stopped abuse in controller database. No more ghost workers in Ghana because we are requiring that every worker be identified by the Ghana card and their fingerprints. And since no ghosts don't have fingerprints, they've all run away. So that was a problem that we use digitalization to solve. And we are saving hundreds of millions, over 700 million Ghana cedis as a result of taking away the ghost workers. So if we can do that, we can make sure, and that's why I'm interested in this discussion, we can also make sure that the incentives that we provided nurses and midwives in terms of waivers of import duties, once we engage, we can put in place the systems to make sure they are not abused. And I've already made this, and I'm very, very happy to do so. Another couple of areas that I think that is worth talking about as far as the future of our country and the future of workers are concerned. Madam President was talking about migration to other countries. You know, when you look at our welfare, the welfare of our workers in Ghana versus the welfare of workers in the more advanced countries. If they pay you, 1,000 cedis in Ghana, you are stuck with 1,000 cedis. If they pay you $1,000 in Canada, you are able to spend $10,000. So your consumption possibilities increase. But why are they able to spend much more than their income? Because of credit. They have a credit system that works.
Starr today, first, fast, and credible.
So you heard that the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoudou Baumia. Now let's turn our attention to some of the stories this evening. And the National Council of Parent-Teacher Association has decried the announcement of a 40% increase in cost of textbooks by the Ghana Publishers Association effective next month. Now this, according to them, is as a result of exorbitant value-added tax slapped on their material by government, coupled with the wanton depreciation of the Ghana cedi against major trading currencies. Now, the association says it has become imperative on their part to transfer the cost to the final consumer in order to remain afloat. Now, addressing the news conference here in Accra, President of the Ghana Publishers Association, Asari Konedu Yamoa, expressed displeasure at government's monopolization of the current school's textbook publishing and distribution system by sidelining the association and engaging unknown entities.
The government, through the Ministry of Finance, brought to Parliament last year a bill that sought to amend the VAT law. The bill was eventually passed into an act. This amendment imposed VAT on a list of materials that are imported into the country to support education, culture, and lifestyles. These include books and other teaching and learning materials. This decision by government ostensibly is to support the printing of books locally, even though we were not consulted throughout the stages for the passage of the amendment. While this is a laudable strategy and could potentially drive investment and business to the printing sector of the book industry, there is more that needs to be done to bring about the intended advantages. The blanket imposition of VAT of about 27.5% at the onset has not helped to reduce importation and the costs of books in the country. This is because not all the books required in our schools are published in the country. Most of the books for technical and vocational education, books for tertiary education, and books to support development of a reading culture are mostly imported and cannot be printed locally as they are not published in the country.
Well, so you heard there the president of the Ghana Publishers Association, Asari Konedu Yamwa. But let's get on the phone lines and speak to the public relations officer of the National Council of Parent and Parent-Teacher Association, Felicity Ahafianyo. Felicity, thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you for reaching out to us.
Fantastic. So you heard from the publishers. They say that it is no fault of theirs. They do not have a choice. They need to increase the prices so that they can also stay afloat due to the current and the prevailing economic challenges and all of that. But you think that is not enough reason for them to do so?
It is not enough reason for them to do so. It's for them, it's business they are running. So they must get a reason for increasing the cost of whatever they are dealing with. So for them, yes, that is their reason. But from our point of view, it should not be the only reason for them to increase the cost of learning materials for our future generations.
So what does the decision mean, especially to parents who now have to cough up more?
It's a financial burden. It's a psychological burden. We all know the situations that we find ourselves in. Most members, most parents are self-employed. Most of them that are civil servants, their salaries are still the same, no much increment. But then the component that you have to use for your world's future, this is what is also happening to it. And for you to get the learning materials for them is also another thing. So it's for us, the government needs to come in to see what they can do to reflect the cost of the price, the textbook, in the market.
Because as it stands now, I know parents are still buying books. I mean, I am still buying books. So clearly, this decision would have a major impact. And what we are also being told is that for Accra, there is some variation between Accra and Kumasi in terms of the increases. We are talking about 60% and 40% and all of that. As it stands now, we've not heard the government say anything about the plans by these publishers to increase prices. How soon should we be hearing from the government? I mean, as parents, how soon are you expecting government to take a decision on this particular matter?
I believe that the dealers have informed government ahead of time of their decision. And government, in a way, has also delayed in coming out. But we are believing that they are doing their stakeholders' engagement, that they are looking at ways and means to see how best they can resolve the issue. But we hope that it will be immediate. Before the week ends, they should be able to come out with some reasonable solutions so that parents can have a relief.
And if that does not happen?
As a body, we are also putting up our communique to forward it to government for them to look at it, and then based on the response that we will get, we will also come back with our next agenda.
Felicity, thank you so much for engaging with us this evening.
You are most welcome.
So that's Felicity Ahafianyo. She is the Public Relations Officer of the National Council of Parent-Teacher Associations. But some of the parents have also been expressing their frustration with Starr News. Some of them spoken to you.
Yeah, no, I buy a person say Yapanicho on the young Casabi, yes, I on share my now. So 40% to say, the Deba on the battery Yapanicho on the on share Hokakra and my. Because you be a coin in Omuma coin on Musambi beer. Let's just say books in Omutumu double. Obu Kiteska, Obu near to my papa and I said, how would I do no putting on? But maybe I want Kodanona, your troubles man Palana. Obey the Anyeska Pakoto, Sa good English, and I mean, none of them may woo. Me panichon the auntie on Shana on books in the on Shana on the Embra from Kakrama and I panichon the brain.
Textbooks in almost 2 more. Ebama, young Susu, your salary is Ombama increasement, Ebaka from Kakra, Ebia, if I say 10% in body and career, but 40% here are not to do. Almost no more than about 10% and for my yes, from more than why. We are appealing to our bank to get nearer asset to able to let food prices, everything come down for us to able to buy and able to buy to take care of it. Now food stuff, everything now costs. So we are appealing to our bank to look at it and reduce everything so that we're able to buy things, take care of our kids, like school books like this. It's getting cost. If you want to buy books for your kid, you have to buy almost 500. Able to buy the books for your kid to go school. If you have 5 kids, 4 kids now, it's not easy. So we're appealing to our bank to be able to do something about it, help us.
The 40% is too much. On share my I get a community saying, if I show what is books in India, to the higher for the higher maybe a single parents. But I'm and some talk good English 1.8. It's only a 3. Almost imagine a party books in India.
So you heard some of the parents basically lamenting the challenge that they would have to face as a result of the increase in cost of the textbooks. But let's do some other stories now. And there's a statement that has been released by the Disability Desk of the National Democratic Congress. And it says, and I read, free tertiary education for persons with disabilities, enough of NDC stolen promises. So let me read portions of it while we raise them on the phone lines to have a conversation on that. And they say that in line with Section 18 of the Disability Act 2016, Act 175, the NDC in its 2020 manifesto on page 74 categorically stated that the next NDC government will provide free tertiary education for persons with disabilities. Unfortunately, the NDC did not win the 2020 general elections, and it is the only reason why this manifesto promise could not be fulfilled. The NDC is, however, still committed to this promise, and it will feature prominently in its 2024 manifesto. Now, The 2020 NDC manifesto is a public document, and the NPP is fully aware of its game-changing and far-reaching pledges. It is acceptable to make references to NDC's manifesto proposals, but the vice president cannot purport to take a manifesto promise and pass it off as his own idea. So let's get on the phone lines now and speak to the national coordinator of the disability desk of the NDC, Comrade Frederick Asso. Comrade, thank you so much for your time, and I hope we can talk now.
Yes, good evening, sir, and then thanks very much for your listeners and Ghanaians as a whole.
Great, but it looks like you are not happy about what you say is the vice president claiming, taking credit for this particular issue about free tertiary education for persons with disability. Tell me more about that.
Okay, once again, thank you very much. And as you've mentioned, yes, the disability desk of NDC, we are not happy at all with the vice president's statement saying that in 2025, when he comes, he's going to establish free tertiary education for persons with disability. My first question is, where is he coming from? Is he in opposition? Is it not the current vice president who has the power to initiate that? So if he's telling us now that when he comes, coming from where? That is our first question. Two, in 2016, in their own manifesto, they mentioned a lot, free education and so on and so forth. And also mentioned something on persons with disability in education. Our question is, have they implemented that? No, they have not. So now that he has gone to see that NDC have put in their manifesto in 2020, page 74 and page 39, that they will establish a free education for persons with disability in the tertiary sector, he's run and gone to plagiarize it and start making noise of it that when he comes. That is our worry.
But as persons with disability, is it the case that the idea for you do not support, or the fact that the vice president is the one talking about it, or the fact that you believe that it's an NDC promise and so the NPP should not adopt it? What exactly is the challenge?
No, the idea is what we've supported 100%, that persons with disability needs free tertiary education in the country and even more. But the vice president now telling us that when he comes, he is going to do that. He still have 7 months as the vice president. He should do that now. He shouldn't be telling us when he comes. That is our worry.
But then you've heard the vice president. He says that, you know what, I'm just the driver's mate. I do not have the decision-making powers currently because I am not the president. I cannot institute this while I'm vice president. So if you give me the nod to become president, that's when I can implement things like this.
Masa. He said a lot. He said even just in Techimai, Bono East, that they have abolished free. They have abolished John Mahama saying that teachers and nurses allowance. John Mahama said he is not going to pay it again. But they have come to restart it and started paying it. You can all notice that a lady just tell him that no, what you said is wrong because they have not received it. So as they have abolished or come to change what Mahama said he is going to do, and they have started paying it, then he can also advise his boss that let's start it now. Even in their manifesto, 2016, my brother, 2016, just look at 2016. 7 months, 7 years, 5 months now. You've not implemented it. You've not advised your boss. You mentioned in your manifesto you are going to do free education. But you advise your boss, and you did that. So why don't you advise your boss to do this?
But we can't know for a fact whether he's advised his boss or not on this, can we?
He has also not told us that he has advised his boss and his boss has refused. So we don't believe him.
You don't trust him at all to do this?
Not at all. And he's not going to do that. He's just, anything he hears from NDC, then he jumps to say. Anything he sees in the NDC manifesto, then he jumps that, I'm going to implement it. Because he has seen it in there. He could advise his boss. As soon as the incoming president, John Mahama, says, when I come, I'll abolish e-levy. He jumps to say, when I come, I'll abolish e-levy. Meanwhile, he's already the mate. As he said, the mate advised the driver, let's do this, go this way, go that way.
But the driver has the ultimate decision-making power.
My boss, he is part of cabinet. He is part of cabinet. And what will be good for the party, his party, NPP, that is what you should be advising his government for. And that will be what the country or the Ghanaians will be happy to vote his party into power. But if you are not able to advise your party, your boss, that let's do this to help the suffering Ghanaians, then you are waiting for you to come. Come from where? Then that means you have no power even at all. You have no say even in the party, his own party. He has no say in this party that he said he wants to come and rule or lead. So we persons with disability, we will not vote for him today, we will not vote for him tomorrow. Because even, just imagine, in 2015, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama increased persons with disability common fund from 2%, 2.5% to 3%. When they came to power, they reduced common fund from 7.5% to 5%, which the 3% they are paying has reduced drastically. It's nothing to rise home about. So they are still punishing we persons with disability. They continue punishing us. They should even mention one thing that when they came to power, they've done for we persons with disability.
So for you, this current administration has not proven in terms of commitment to persons with disability?
Not at all. Not single one. They should mention one. One difference they have made in the lives of persons with disability. They created a toll booth for persons with disability. At the end of it, they cancelled it without even informing them. It took persons with disability to go on the street, demonstrate so many months before they said they are now engaging them with YEA.
Yes, the YEA.
Even that. How sure are we that they are doing that? You understand? So they say one and cancel two. So we will not trust him at all. And we will not like him to be saying that. NDC, nobody can blame NDC that NDC have not established free tertiary education. Because we've not won power.
Right.
It is in our manifesto. And in 2025, NDC is going to do that live and colored because we've done a lot for persons with disability, including myself.
Right. Well, comrade, thank you so much for speaking with us this evening.
Thank you very much, and thanks for your listeners.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So that's comrade Frederick Asso. He is the national coordinator of the disability desk of the NDC. You're still listening to Starr today on Starr 103.5 FM. Your thoughts, your comments are welcome on WhatsApp number 0552 880 0552 880 and also we're streaming live on Facebook, so you can drop your comments there so that we read that to the rest of the world. Now, still to come, we'll be telling you about the free fall of the cedi. If you have some dollars on you, whether it's good news to have dollars on you currently. I remember some time ago we heard from the information minister who says that it's a really bad thing to have dollars. I mean, looking at how the cedi is going to gain strength, you would lose so much if you kept dollars. So from then till now, would you say you've made a good choice by keeping the dollars? Well, we'll have a conversation on that shortly, right after this.
Starr today, first, fast, and credible.
Starr Star News is coming to you live on Ultimate 106.9 FM in Kumasi, Empire 102.7 FM in Takrady, Zeps 95.9 FM in Zebila, Nissim 100.1 FM in Lamshao, My Star Radio in the USA, also live on Facebook on Star 103.5 FM and on starfm.com.gh around the world. This is Star 103.5 FM. Star News. Informed, in depth, in touch.
You're still tuning to Star today here on Star 103.5 FM with me, Joshua Kodjo Mensah. So we know that the Electoral Commission is hoping to register at least 620,000 persons who have attained the eligible voting age of 18 onto the electoral register. Now, these young Ghanaians sure have a significant say who becomes the next president or member of parliament. Now, the question is, are they really conscious of the weight of what they are signing up for? My colleague Ivan Heathcote-Fumador has been speaking to some of these youth whose thumbs bear the same value as any other adult, determining the outcome of the December 7 election.
I came around 8 something, so we are still on the process how things will go far.
Kingsley Amprechum, a senior high school student, turned 18 this year. Like his co-equals, he feels proud attaining the age which qualifies him to join a queue to be enrolled on Ghana's voters register.
Because I am a Ghanaian, for me to elect the right person to lead this country, I think that it is necessary for me to come here and do the voters ID so that I can have the chance to vote.
Every year, 450,000 youth turn 18, making them eligible to vote. Across 1,053 registration centers, the Electoral Commission hopes to enroll 623,000 of these youth, as well as other qualified persons who have previously not registered. But do these young folk really understand the gravity of what they are signing up for?
I am a small boy growing up in Ghana, so I don't have any idea about the Ghana politics, what is going on so far. I don't know.
Are you happy with the development that you're seeing in Ghana?
Oh, actually, the development that is going on, it is some way, somehow, because there are leaders on there. And so far as if they know what they are doing is right, they should continue doing it. But if they know that it's not right, it is up to them.
Abuajijedu, another young person eager to be registered onto the electoral roll, has a general view of the right of choices that his voter's ID card entitles him to.
I'm 18 years.
I have turned 18. I have a choice of whom I feel is normal enough to lead the country. Besides, I want development. An advocate for responsible youthful leadership, Clement Ejesafo, contends these newly registered young voters must understand the seriousness of a vote.
Elections are serious matters. If you vote for Party A or Party B, for the next 4 years, you have entrusted your life into the hands of an individual or a group of people. Sometimes we think election is just something we do periodically, but it is life. Election is about lives. Election is about the future.
The executive director of the Youth Enterprise Synergy wants these youngsters to be intentional about doing a good background and track record check of every candidate before casting their first vote in national elections.
They shouldn't just look at party colors. They shouldn't look at how tall or handsome somebody is. They should listen to what they are saying, synthesize and go beyond what a person is saying, and look at the person's character, the person's track record.
Already, the political parties are watching these new eligible Gen Z electorates with hawkish eyes. Apart from the unlawful acts of busing, some go to the extent of feeding them breakfast.
For taking good care of us, they have been giving us some meal and some thing that we need to eat. At the end of the day, they hope that everything will go well.
From now to December 5th, when all electoral campaigning activities are supposed to come to an end, politicians will have to track down these thumbs anyhow, especially on social media, where a majority of them virtually live. Reporting from Kumasi for Star News, Ivan Heathcote Fumado, Ultimate FM.
So that's my colleague Ivan Heathcote Fumado coming through with that report. So the Gen Zs are getting registered, 18 years and above, getting registered to get onto the electoral roll. But the big question has always been, what exactly do they know about the power that they have? And that's why we're also here to ensure that we help with the education, so that if you're a Gen Z, you're watching us on Facebook and not listening to us on radio, you would also have a better appreciation of what to do when you get to the polls in December 7, 2024. Now, it's some few minutes past 6 p.m. right here on Starr today on Starr 103.5 FM, and we're going to talk about the city. Because about 2 weeks ago, I had to go and then, melt a few CDs and a few US dollars. And it was selling. The dollar was, given to me. And I bought it for what, 14 CDs. So for $100, I made about 1,400 Ghana CDs. Well, the city, we know that for years has struggled against major trading currencies, with recurrent governments grappling to find a lasting solution to what could be described as the biggest bane of the economy. We've heard about how the IGP will now hold the keys to the city that has been arrested and the dollar that has been arrested and all of that. Well, despite a November 2022 announcement of the withdrawal of foreign exchange support to goods classified as non-essential, the suspension of interest payments on foreign loans, and an ongoing IMF support program, the city in recent time has been on a 25-day depreciation streak against the US dollar. For 25 days, the city has consistently been depreciating against the dollar. But how bad is the performance of the city against the US dollar? And then Adam Kodjo is with the research desk, and he's the man who likes figures, and he has joined me in studio. Adam, let me start with this question. How bad is the current performance of the city against the dollar?
How bad? Very interesting question, but I want to take us back. So 2 months ago, if you remember, when there was a big reshuffle in the country, there was a new finance minister, Honorable Mohammed Amin Adam, who was elevated from the Minister of State at the Finance Ministry. Now, around that same time, remember we had a second level, so a second review with the IMF. We had an agreement. We had managed to reach an agreement, a staff level agreement on the second review. And then addressing the media, Mohammed Amin Adam had something to say about the city. I want us to start our conversation on the back of what he said.
So we'll do a throwback
and then
we'll come back. All right. So let's listen to the finance minister.
The city has been largely stabilized since early 2023 against the major trading currencies, even though we are seeing some pressures in the city in recent times. The city, for example, cumulatively depreciated against the US dollar by 27.8% at the end of December 2023. And this was down from the depreciation rate of 30% at the end of December 2022 and 50% at the end of November same year, 2022. However, if you isolate February to December 2023, we saw a more dramatic performance by the city. The city depreciated against the US dollar by only 9.1%. This is important also because same time in 2022, the city depreciated by 29.8%. So you can see the remarkable performance in the city. The good news is that the stability has continued into this year, 2024, with a cumulative depreciation of 6.8%. And this was as of the 20th of March, 2024. If you compare that with same period in 2023, there was a depreciation of 22.1%. So 6.8% against 22.1% same time last year also shows the great performance of our currency. To further stabilize the currency, we are expecting a total disbursement of about 1.2 billion United States dollars from our development partners, namely the IMF, the World Bank, and the African Development Bank. And this we expect to be disbursed before the end of this year, 2024.
So there was a clear plan to stabilize the city.
Certainly.
So what happened to the plan?
So Josh, there are two legs in this conversation. So the first question, how bad is it? Now, if you listen to the minister and what we just played, the minister was speaking as at the end of March 2024, sorry. And the minister sought to make a very interesting comparison. He compared that to the year 2023, where he says the depreciation as at that time was just around, is it 22%, if I'm right. And then he makes a very important point that majority of that depreciation, so for the year 2023, the city depreciated by a cumulative of 27% from the Bank of Ghana's data. However, he says a majority of that 27% was in the month of January 2023. Now, I would have to take you back to 2022, where in November there was a very big spike in the city. So that was when the whole conversation of breaking the CD 8 started. Then it jumped to breaking the 10. And then we all felt the city was approaching the 15 CD mark as at October, November 2022. Now, in December, for some interesting reason, the city appreciated so significantly against the dollar, ending the year under 10 Ghana cedi to a dollar. So around that time, many analysts actually said they felt the cedi was actually being overvalued because its true value, in fact, it came down all the way to 8.5. And there were rumors that people should finish or to let go of their dollars because it could come down to 6. I remember I said it that I don't see it coming down beyond the 8. Indeed, people said the cedi was overvalued at that time and its true value was a little above 10 Ghana cedi. Now, in 2023, within the month of January, nearly 60% of those gains that were made in December were actually lost. There's a big conversation for another day on why that probably happened and how it was supposedly used to negotiate an external deal to reduce certain debt levels. That's a conversation for another day. But Joshua, basically what he meant is that in 2023, as a result of the normalization of the overvalue of the cedi, there was a big significant depreciation in January. However, from February up until December, the total depreciation per someone who say the normal factors or normal depreciation route was just around 7%. So if the finance minister, per his analogy, is working on that, we would also want to look at, okay, so from February up until now, what has been the situation? Right. So Joshua, as you rightly said, the cedi is currently on a 25-day losing streak against the dollar. In fact, it is the worst according to Bloomberg since 1994. So usually, the cedi can go on about a 10-15-day streak and will suddenly make some 2-day gains. For 25 days consecutively, and I mean trading days, Monday to Friday, nearly 5 weeks now, the cedi has failed to gain against the dollar at the end of trading. So that is the first part. Now, this is what makes it interesting. The Bank of Ghana at the beginning of the year was selling the cedi at 11 cedi 88 pesos. As at close of yesterday, it was 13 cedi 73 pesos. This is a depreciation of 13.4% so far this year. And that's the Bank of Ghana's official rate. Right. Now, it's very interesting because for those who follow the financial market, about a week or two ago, Dr. Baumia, who is the vice president, had a conversation with Africa Watch. And the issue of the cedi came about. And then Dr. Baumia says, the cedi has performed charitably or better under the NPP administration, under his watch, because from 2017 to 2023, the average inflation for the cedi is under his tenure is 13.1%. Yeah, as against the 13.8% under the SWAL NDC administration. But Joshua, as at May that we are now, the cedi has currently done 13.4% according to the Bank of Ghana. So what this clearly means is that the cedi per this past 5 months or 4.5 months is actually depreciating at a higher rate as opposed to the average of the 7 years. In effect, it could mean that by the time we are done with the 2024, the average that was being touted of 13.1% could actually go up and be higher. So that's the first thing that we need to look at. Also, as the minister said, the overall depreciation for last year was 27%. It's been 4.5 months, and we are doing 13.4%. If we continue at the same rates, it means that by the end of the year, we could actually do above 30%.
Wow.
Which will be worse than last year. If we continue at the same rate we are moving. So that's the first part. Now remember, these are Bank of Ghana figures, which is interbank, and probably figures you and I will never get at.
Yes, the rate at which the banks trade among each other.
So what is the rate at which you and I, when we go out, we want to get it? And what is our depreciation?
And usually these rates are higher than
relatively higher. Now, Bloomberg, which is an international trading platform, and they are monitoring international trading platform, say, and that was Asat. In fact, Asat was come to the studio. Okay, so I started from Asat yesterday. It said that the CD sold for 14 Ghana CD 5 pesos. It started the year at 11 CD 95 pesos. George, that's a depreciation of 15%. Wow. Now, when you go to the Forex Bureau, or where usually you and I will get it from, to get the CD at the close of yesterday was 18 Ghana CD. Was 14 Ghana CD. I think
I'm sure when you mentioned 18, you were like, hey!
I duly apologize. Was 14 Ghana CD, 85 pesos.
Wow.
We started the year at 12 Ghana CD, 20 pesos.
And we are now at 14 cities, 85 pesos, inching towards the 15 city mark.
Yeah. In fact, I'm getting information that at close of trade today, so this is close of trade yesterday, at close of trade today, some are likely to sell at 15 Ghana cedi. Now, what this means is that on the forex market, your cedi has depreciated by 18%. So notice this, the Bank of Ghana's official depreciation is at 13.4%. International trading platforms is at 15%. But on the market, where Joshua, you and I, we are facing a depreciation of 18%. Now, let's go to the second leg. So that's the first leg. The second leg, where the minister promised that some steps are being put in place to ensure the stability of the cedi. Josh, we're expecting $1.2 billion, which is supposed to come before the end of the year. Well, the end of the year is a long way away, but I want to give you a potential breakdown. That $1.2 billion included $360 million from the IMF, which is the third tranche disbursement. There was another project from the World Bank, a World Bank loan facility of $150 million. There is also the AFD, African Development Bank, that will give us some money at the end, or somewhere around September thereabouts. But in the interim, we actually were supposed to have close to or over $500 million in our account by now, which then would have brought some stability to the cedi. However, Josh, someone will ask, Nasekano Wahi.
Yeah.
As a result of our failure to get an agreement on our external debt restructuring, and remember, the IMF said it was one of the conditions we need to access that money. We still have $360 million waiting in the IMF account that we cannot have access to or cannot be disbursed to us because we have not made progress on that part. Then the second but funny part, where we're supposed to have, or Parliament was supposed to approve a $150 million World Bank facility. In fact, that wasn't captured in there, but the minister in his March address implored Parliament to, as a matter of urgency, pass that. Josh, do you remember how Parliament ended in the last session? Parliament ended in the last session abruptly.
Yeah.
Where for that day, the order paper and the things they had to discuss,
business that was on the floor
was never held.
I mean, it was suspended.
It was suspended indefinitely. Senator Josh, so as we speak, that $150 million is in the World Bank accounts. We just need a parliamentary approval for it to be disbursed.
And as we speak, Parliament is still
on recess,
even though there is a recall of members to the House.
So beyond that, it is said that our recall, or the recall of Parliament, beyond whatever people think, it's also as a matter of urgency because government needs.
We need the money.
You can say there are other outstanding issues like ministerial appointments and yes, but I can tell you on authority that one of the foremost reasons why Parliament would be or is being recalled is the dollars that is entered the system. So Joshua, this is the situation we find ourselves in. as I said before I left, Bloomberg, we have gone another day losing streak. 14 CD, 18 pesos on the Bloomberg market, and some foreign markets are actually telling you to bring 15 Ghana cedi. But Josh, we've been speaking to some people. What have they been saying, Josh?
Right. Well, let's listen to Dr. Tiahine. We'll come back and talk about more of this.
If you ask me where I sit now, if you ask me candidly, I'll be predicting 18 cedis to $1.
18 cedis?
Because you see, yes. Because you see, there's nothing to support it. You see, it's just like a free fall currency. Those who tell you that they're going to support it, look, you are depending on IMF bailout of 360. And let me make this statement. The 360 is not even enough for a quarter oil importation, let alone the drugs and what have we. So it is a thing that we need as a nation to wake up from our slumber and begin to go and strategize.
So that's banking analyst, Dr. Richmond Etiahene. But I mean, when we talk about the dollar and its performance, one of the major people who are really concerned would be the business community, because they do a lot of importation, and a lot of that depends on you getting some US dollars to transact business. What have they also been saying about this?
You heard Dr. Etiahene. He says 18 Ghana cedi. That's what he's predicting the year to end. So that's one leg. But the business community is crying, Josh. People are crying. And Guta has been speaking. In fact, we spoke to the director of communications of the Ghana Union Traders Association. And Guta is basically saying that they are in crisis. Right. The continued depreciation means that businesses could collapse.
Yes, the concern is that in recent times we've been monitoring the performance of the CD against the major currencies of the world in which we trade in, and we've seen the free fall of the CD against the dollar especially, and which is hurting our businesses. And then we wanted to find what are the real causes. We want to let the Minister of Finance let us know what are the causes why we are seeing this free fall of the CD against the dollar, so that we can provide some solutions to, we can identify with them and also engage them and provide some solutions to what to do to curb it. So these are the difficulties, and it's hurting businesses as a result of indebtedness. Business cannot pay their debt. Most of us go for products from credit facilities from our neighbors or from our business partners, and they give us the commodities or the goods in the dollar ratio, in the dollar terms. And then you come today, you sell the goods, you cannot change the dollar and pay your debt because.
Charlie, so businesses are feeling the pain. So, I mean, if I don't know, but if I had dollars now, would I be in a better position to keep the dollars? I mean, if I have, say, some $500, if someone decides to give me some free $500 now, would you advise that I change it per what is happening, or I hold on to it?
Well, you have to come and pay for financial consultants.
But what is that conversation like?
Yeah, so basically the conversation is, if you know Dr. John Kwache, Dr. John Kwache, who is the head of research at IEA, a renowned economist, he's talked a very interesting conversation. Doctor says we should probably just turn the economy to a dollar economy. We should dollarize the economy so that we know we are spending dollars, because the way we are chopping dollars in this country, maybe that's the only way to bring stability in prices in the country.
So you are ordering wache with dollar.
Yeah, but Joshua, how much safe do you make it? That's why the conversation.
Right.
But yes, we go back to Dr. Richmond Etiahene. Dr. Richmond Etiahene says we should look inward and find a lasting solution. Let's not try to go and borrow things from elsewhere and end up ruining our economy more.
Okay.
When we borrowed to show the CD, but the CDs is now being exposed nakedly that to the supply and demand caprices of the economy. And you have no access to borrow again to say that you have arrested the currency. Now you are facing the reality, the real value of the city, because it's about supply and demand. When the supply is not there and the demand is there, it's required into depreciation. And that is what we are facing now. There is no two ways, and there is no magic wand. Because if you're not going to access the international capital market in the next, if you read the literature, we won't be able to access the international market in the next 4 or 5 years.
So that's banking analyst, Dr. Richmond Etiahene, rather. Well, Adam, could you wrap it up for me?
So in the west of Kodjo, Opon, and Kruma, the dollars are coming.
The dollars are coming. Yeah, right. So if the dollars are coming, then let's shift attention to sports. And Jones G has joined me with the latest in the world of sports. Jones, what's happening in sports this evening?
I mean, the under 17 World Wafu, I must say, Wafu B begins tomorrow. So the national under 17 side, the Black Starlets, will on Wednesday kickstart the Wafu Zone African Cup of Nations against La Côte d'Ivoire at the University of Ghana Sports Stadium. So the tournament is scheduled to take place from May 15th to May 28th, 2024. The following report has more.
Ghana will battle Côte d'Ivoire and Benin in Group A, while Group B consists of Nigeria, Togo, Burkina Faso, and Niger. The Black Starlets will open their campaign at the University of Ghana Stadium at 4 p.m. on Wednesday. Head coach of the side, Lai Kingston, is optimistic his lads will execute the mission to clinch the trophy. Having fine-tuned preparations in Russia, the Black Starlets are speedily gearing up to book a ticket to the next edition of the CAF Under-17 Africa Cup of Nations. Meanwhile, champions Nigeria will square off with Burkina Faso on Thursday, May 16, 2024, before Togo takes on Niger on match day 2.
Right, so meanwhile, Lai Kingston, who is coach of the side, has released a 20-man squad for the Wafu Zone B Cup of Nations, and Ghana entered the tournament intending to qualify for the first Under-17 African Cup of Nations in 7 years, having last participated in 2017. Now moving to the English Premier League, where this evening in about some 30 minutes, coach of Tottenham Hotspur's side, who are scheduled to play Manchester City, believes that he cannot understand why a team would play a match to lose in a game where a draw or win for Spurs would help their rivals Arsenal in their pursuit for their Premier League title. The Australian trainer is optimistic of a win against City.
I'll never understand if somebody wants their own team to lose. I just, that's not what sport's about. That's not what I love about the game. You know, if other people treat it that way, where they derive pleasure from others' misery, that's not how I've lived my life. That's not how I perceive my role. I know 100% of Spurs supporters want us to win, be successful and win trophies. That is without a shadow of a doubt. And us winning tomorrow night will help us sort of bring joy to 100% of Spurs supporters.
Right, so that's all for sports. My name is Jones.
Baba Jones, before you go, why Rashid?
Today's not Friday.
Today's not Friday, so I wonder why you're running away from the
For City fans, they would want to have an easy one against us. I mean, for Arsenal fans, they are in a dilemma, and then the Spurs fans don't know what to do. So there was actually a vote on social media, and the Spurs fans want to lose today's game, because if they should win, it helps Arsenal to win the league, and they are rivals, bitter rivals. So if you're in that position, would you want to lose so Man City would win, or you would want to win to help your rivals win?
Charlie, it's a dicey situation.
Yeah,
though.
so
like,
I mean,
Charlie, like somebody's chasing your girl, and then Charlie, but there is some level of interest around the guy's name, the coach's name.
Yeah, Ange Postecoglou.
Posta what?
Postecoglou. That's his name.
Charlie,
He's an Australian.
I'm sure he's from the Volta region.
Yeah.